Thank you for listening to Depictions Media Radio. Welcome to Policy and Rights, the show about government policy and human rights. Welcome back to Policy and Rights here on Depictions Media Radio. I am your host, Michael Clogs. Affordable housing. The conversation is ongoing, but the results are minimal, especially here in British Columbia. We are seeing the number of homeless people. It's becoming more and more alarming, and the municipalities are taking down tent cities. They are evicting people from off the streets because that's the only places they have to go. And it's more and more of it every day. The struggle to be able to pay all your bills, medication, gas, to get to work, all those things are adding up and putting stress and strain on everyone. There are very, very few people especially that are in the middle or working class, that aren't talking about the strain that is actually putting on us. Because, hey, we got to get to work. We got to, and we got to be able to put food on the table. And, well, we have a family member that needs medication, and we got to be able to take care of that. And all these rising costs of things that have happened, one, because of the pandemic, two, because of the war between Russia and Ukraine. All these things are mounting up in adding up to inflation for us on other ends. Housing is also one of them. Affordable housing is becoming out of reach. I'm going to correct that. Affordable housing is out of reach for a lot of people, a lot of families. When you start adding up all the other bills, and the ability to pay rent or mortgage becomes a strain, and people are losing their homes or being evicted, and thus we're finding more and more people on the streets. We're finding whole families on the streets, and the conversation is ongoing. Like I said, with minimal results. Municipalities are saying that their hands are tied because the provincial government needs to do more. Then the provincial government says that they need more subsidies from the federal government, thus leading to today's conversation and announcement from Justin Trudeau that is promising that this problem is going to be addressed. It is promising that we're going to find a way to make housing affordable for the average person. And the average person is looking for the results to come of these announcements in different areas. This particular announcement, Justin Trudeau is in on text.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Ahmed. I'm really looking forward to hearing from all of you, so I'm not going to say too much now, except that I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here, not just to hear from you all, but to make an announcement in about an hour about more that we're doing specifically, because we know there's so much more to do. We're facing challenges, whether it's related to climate change, whether it's related to coming through this pandemic, disruption in supply chains, inflation happening around the world that's having an impact on everyone's cost of living. We need to step up. At the same time, our economy is growing fast. We're creating jobs. There's a labor shortage out there. We need to make sure that people can have stable places to live that they can afford so that they can fully participate in the workforce. And we know that four walls and a roof is a big piece of it, but it's not the only piece of it. And that's where the partnerships the federal government is establishing with municipalities, hopefully increasingly with provinces, to step up on those wraparound supports is going to be so important. But what we learned during this pandemic is how quickly we needed to move. And that's why we created the Rapid Housing Strategy, which basically committed $1 billion across the country for either purchasing hotels or building rapid modular housing or anything that could get people into accommodations quicker. It was massively oversubscribed. It delivered more spaces than we projected. It was a huge success. So we launched a second round that went out this fall, with this spring, and again created far more places than we had even hoped. Was massively oversubscribed, so we may have an announcement in an hour about how we're going to continue to make sure that there are projects moving forward. I won't scoop myself at this point, but I will say that we understand how important it is to keep the pressure on ourselves and our partners to do more. We know there are tremendous opportunities, there are challenges we have to meet, there are problems. There are also solutions, and what I'm really looking forward to around this table here is to hear, yes, the challenges you're facing, but also the solutions we've had, because part of the announcement later is going to be around innovation and creativity, understanding that different communities have different needs, but also different pathways to solutions that can be really innovative and work well for communities. We're committed to supporting affordable housing and housing affordability across the country. We're committing to ending chronic homelessness in the coming years. We're committed to building a future in which everyone can be a full and complete part of achieving their potential. But that means no silver bullets, no magic solution that's going to fix everything, no simple answers to complex questions, only a lot of hard work, a lot of listening, a lot of partnership, and the steady work of investing and responding to people's needs now and into the coming years. So I'm really, really looking forward to hearing you all. Merci beaucoup d'être ici avec nous aujourd'hui. J'ai bien hâte de vous entendre.
Ready? Hi, everybody. I'm Elizabeth Clark, and I'm the CEO of the YW, and I am just thrilled to welcome you all here to Waterloo Region and to Blockline Supportive Housing. This is our newest building. We just opened in May, and this building houses 41 women, all who have been chronically homeless. So it was built with Rapid Housing Initiative funding, and I believe it was the first in our region anyway of that sort. You may have noticed when you walked in that we have another build happening just sort of the other side of the parking lot, and that will be a 10-unit build for women and children who are homeless, also constructed with Rapid Housing Initiative funding. So if I have one message for the Minister, although he didn't ask me, but I hope he heard it this morning, keep that Rapid Housing Initiative funding up, because it is extremely helpful and really transformative. So other than welcoming you, I have the honor of welcoming and introducing our Member of Parliament, Valerie Bradford.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. Bienvenue tout le monde. Thank you to everyone at the YW Kitchener-Waterloo for welcoming us here today. Most of all, thank you for the work the tremendous work that you do every day for our community. Before we get started today with today's announcement, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. It is my great pleasure to be gathered here today and to welcome my friends and colleagues, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Minister Hussen. I'm proud to be part of our government's work to make housing more affordable, safer, and more accessible for those who need it most in our communities. Here in Kitchener-Waterloo, the uptake in demand for housing has driven up costs. This is true for those who are looking to buy a home and those who are renting. We need more housing, and we need it now. We need it to continue to be a vibrant community where everyone has a chance to study, work, and build a better life. And that's what today's announcement is all about. I'd like to invite the Right Honourable Prime Minister to share the good news. Merci, thank you.
Good afternoon. It's great to be back here in southwestern Ontario, here in Kitchener. Merci Valérie. Je suis très heureux de te voir et voir plusieurs membres de notre équipe ici aujourd'hui. So glad to see other orders of government represented. Karen, we just had a wonderful roundtable, but good to see mayors as well here. It's really important that we all work together to solve the challenges our communities and our country are facing. But I'd especially like to thank the YW Kitchener-Waterloo and Elizabeth Clark for hosting us here today. You have done incredible work to serve this community. You've done it very quickly, but this is a positive announcement today that will continue to build on the amazing work that you've been doing. Depuis des années, les Canadiens font face à la hausse du coût du logement. En 2017, on a annoncé et lancé la stratégie nationale sur le logement, et à ce jour, on a aidé plus de 1,2 million de personnes à trouver un chez-soi. Mais on sait qu'il reste beaucoup de travail à faire. Dans le budget 2022, on a présenté un plan ambitieux pour rendre le logement plus abordable. Entre autres, on va doubler l'offre de logement dans la prochaine décennie. Et on va continuer d'innover et de construire plus de logements abordables, surtout pour ceux qui louent et ceux qui risquent de se trouver en situation d'itinérance. Over the past years and the past months, I've talked with many Canadians who are worried about being able to afford a place to live. This is as true for people looking to buy a home as for those who live in rental housing. We're seeing prices going up across the country. So we know we need to build supply and find innovative solutions. And that's what today's announcement is all about. I'm happy to announce that we are making a major investment to create nearly 17,000 homes, the majority of which will be affordable units. A big piece of this is the upcoming launch of the third phase of our extremely successful Rapid Housing Initiative. We first launched the program in 2020 to quickly deliver permanent housing for vulnerable people. At each stage, this program has exceeded expectations. The first two rounds of the Rapid Housing Initiative are set to deliver over 10,000 units, outperforming the 7,500 we initially hoped to build. With today's announcement, this third round will build 4,500 more affordable units from coast to coast to coast. The impact of this program is evident right here at YW Kitchener-Waterloo's new Block Line Road building. This supportive housing building is now home for dozens of women at risk of homelessness or who were experiencing it until these units were built. During the roundtable, we all got to hear from two extraordinary women, Renee and Erin, who were sharing their stories and sharing how important it is that even as we invest in the safety, security, stability of housing, we're also investing in the community that goes around it to allow people to build their own path and their own potential. I know everyone around the table was moved to hear their strength and their courage and inspired for the future that we're going to continue to work on building together. Because when people have stable homes, they can build more stable lives. They can participate and create their communities. They can contribute their skills to businesses and organizations in our economy, and we all benefit from that. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the way both the City of Kitchener and the region of Waterloo are expedited the zoning, planning, and permitting processes and supported this project to get it built quickly. We need all orders of government to step up and find ways to get projects built, and we want to be your partners in finding ways to remove barriers, accelerate projects, and unlock supply. On sait que pour résoudre un problème aussi complexe que le logement, ça prend des idées nouvelles, audacieuses et créatives. C'est pour ça que le financement d'aujourd'hui prévoit aussi des investissements dans le Fonds d'innovation pour le logement abordable. The Affordable Housing Innovation Fund has supported projects like North America's first passive house retrofit on an apartment building. And today we're announcing that through this fund, we will be investing to create 10,800 housing units, including 6,000 affordable units. We're also creating a stream under this fund for a new rent-to-own pilot. For a lot of renters, saving to buy a home is increasingly difficult. Through this new program, we'll work with housing providers to help families go from renting to owning their home. I'm very pleased to say that applications for projects open today. When nearly a third of Canadians rent their homes, it's important that governments make sure renters are part of any affordability plan. And that's what the federal government will keep doing. When people have a home of their own, whether they rent or they own, they're better able to invest in themselves and invest in their communities. Our government understands that it's only by investing in people that we can grow the economy. When we help provide childcare, we give kids the best start in life and help 250,000 workers, especially moms, participate in the labor force. When we invest in post-secondary education and apprenticeships, we help people reach their full potential, and we help businesses who are now able to hire skilled workers. Quand on appuie les travailleurs à faible revenu, on les aide à profiter de toutes les opportunités qui s'offrent à eux. Quand on fait ça, notre économie se développe, la classe moyenne se renforce et on s'assure que tout le monde puisse bénéficier. Tackling housing affordability is a complex problem, and there is no one silver bullet. The fact is, simplistic solutions are simply not going to solve the problem. But announcements like today's move us all forward and give more people a place to call home and a real and fair chance at success. And on that, I want to thank Minister Ahmed Hussen for his extraordinary leadership over these past years and everything that you do, Ahmed, to help make housing more affordable. But before I introduce Ahmed, I want to send my condolences to everyone affected by the devastating floods in Pakistan, and especially to all those who've lost loved ones. Yesterday, Canada committed an additional $5 million in emergency assistance and humanitarian aid. We will continue to stand with the people of Pakistan impacted by this horrific disaster. And I'm now very pleased to turn it over to Minister Hussen. Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Prime Minister, for that kind introduction. And I want to really start by echoing your important message, which is that this is truly about helping Canadians access safe and affordable housing that meets their needs. We know Canadians have different housing needs depending on where they sit on the housing spectrum. And the stories we heard today in the roundtable from local residents here in Kitchener and around Waterloo region truly highlight the diversity of need in housing that we all know exists right across the country. Et ce sont des histoires comme celle-ci qui remettent toujours en perspective ce que nous faisons en tant que gouvernement. It is easy to think about our national housing strategy as a standalone solution to a complex issue. This 10-year plan, backed by more than $72 billion in investments, is about ensuring that every single dollar of those investments are focused on not just addressing one challenge at a time, but at tackling all of them at the same time. Et comment y parvenons-nous? C'est grâce à des partenaires exceptionnels comme la région Waterloo. Just look at YW Kitchener-Waterloo Supportive Housing project where we're gathered here today. This location is not only giving women who had been experiencing homelessness, who are at risk of experiencing homelessness, a reliable roof over their heads, but also ensuring that they have the important wraparound supports that they need to not just get by anymore, but actually start to get ahead and have the stability that they need and deserve. Or look at One Roof's new shelter in downtown Kitchener, making sure youth in our community have a place to go when they need it the most. La stratégie nationale sur le logement consiste à trouver des solutions innovantes qui répondent aux besoins directs de la communauté en le coûtant directement. With today's announcement, more projects like these homes in Kitchener will be made possible from coast to coast to coast. And by moving ahead on our commitment through the Innovation Fund and the brand new Rent-to-Own program, we're tackling challenges such as affordable housing, but also access to the housing market for countless Canadians who wish to continue to access the dream of home ownership. From the fight against homelessness to the path towards home ownership, we're ensuring that no one is left behind, and that includes all Canadians. Ultimately, the key takeaway from today is that thanks to our partners and their ambitious targets and their commitments and their work, our outstanding team on the ground right here in Kitchener and across this region and the country, the community leaders that are tireless in their work to ensure that everyone is housed in our communities, more families will be able to leverage federal investments to raise their kids in a community that they love and know. And more seniors will be able to age comfortably in place in communities that they've literally helped build and be able to live in a life of dignity and respect that they deserve. Et plus de gens peuvent bénéficier de la sécurité et de la stabilité dans chez-soi qui leur donnera le nouveau départ dont ils ont besoin. I'd like to thank everyone for your continued partnership. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Your hard work and your commitments and your guidance and your perspectives have helped us to make sure that the National Housing Strategy works in every part of Canada. Your hard work is actually improving the lives of everyone in our community. And by working together and by constantly challenging us to do more, and making sure that our national housing strategy has the biggest possible impact to meet the needs of the local residents here, I have no doubt that we will be coming back for more announcements and that we will ensure collectively and together that everyone here has a safe and affordable place to call home. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you.
Merci. Nous avons maintenant 20 minutes pour des questions, une question et une question de suivi. We will now have 20 minutes for questions from media. One question, one follow-up. Please identify your outlet and your name. We will start with the first question.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Carmen with CTV News Kitchener. In this region, we have an encampment where residents have been told to leave. They can't afford a home and they can't rent, and that's why they're living in these tents. Councillors are working to develop a plan, short-term interim solutions. What does your government propose to do to ensure that these, long-term solutions are available to these folks?
Well, I know how challenging it is right now for residents in the region, but particularly for those facing homelessness. That's why the municipality has stepped up in responding it, but the federal government has a role to play as well, and that's exactly why we're making this announcement today. In 2020, we created something called the Rapid Housing Initiative, which was in a partial response to the pandemic, where people needed to get inside to safety and be able to stay isolated. So it was a program that allowed municipalities to purchase hotels, motels, to build rapid modular housing. The one condition we had is it had to happen really, really fast. And this is an extraordinary example of exactly that, that delivered housing units in months, not years. That program was so successful in its first offer, not just in getting more projects built than we expected, but creating more housing spaces than we thought. We renewed it for a second round, and we're now announcing today that this fall we'll be renewing it for a third round. So these are the kinds of projects that invest directly in municipalities to make sure that rapidly people are able to find affordable places to live. It's about every order of government working together to deliver, to offer those not long-term but medium-term solutions for people who are facing such short-term stresses.
How many affordable housing units can we see in Waterloo Region in particular and in Guelph?
The investments in the Rapid Housing Initiative are across the country because we know there are needs in rural areas, in urban areas, from coast to coast to coast. Every area gets to commit and to put forward great projects, and I know from having conversations already with local organizations and municipal leadership, there's a lot of excitement about the projects that they know are going to be able to be put into the mix for Kitchener-Waterloo Region.
Good afternoon. My name is Liz Montero. I'm a reporter at the Record, which is a newspaper here in Kitchener. And I'd like to follow up on what Carmen was speaking about. And specifically, in Waterloo Region, we have 21 encampments that we know of. And that means that at least 135 people are living outside without a home. And recently, the region has recognized that sanctioned encampments is a temporary form of housing. It's a temporary alternative. Yet it is the same region, though, that is taking many of these residents at one particular encampment through court action to evict them from there. So how do we remedy that when, on one hand, we're saying, yes, we want to assist you, we're doing everything we can, but yet we're taking you to court and we're going to evict you?
I know those are important issues that the municipality is struggling with, and rightly so. What the federal government is doing is being there as a partner to make sure that these pressures become less, to make sure that there is a creation of stable housing supply, of increased supply of affordable housing, so that people don't have, as an only option, to live in an encampment or to be homeless. We know there is a need for more affordable rental homes. There is more need for supported housing. There's more need for wraparound supports. The federal government is there as a partner, particularly when it comes to investing the necessary capital to be able to build places like this. But the province and the municipality have important roles to play in making sure there are the services that are there for people. When someone experiences homelessness, they come into their home, even if it's great 4 walls and a roof, with a higher level of needs and services that they have to access, particularly in those first years. That's something that we need to make sure is being delivered, and that's something we're going to continue to work with the municipality and the province on.
So the money that you're announcing today then will assist the region and the municipalities here to build temporary homes for some of these people?
Build rapid homes, but not necessarily temporary homes. We know that there is a need that is not going away anytime soon. We see our populations are growing, particularly in vibrant areas like Kitchener-Waterloo. We need to make sure that we are rapidly creating more spaces for people to actually get that stability and that security that's going to allow them to move forward and find their paths.
Good afternoon. James Sharani with CBC KW. I'm just wondering, what do you think is behind the rise in threats that politicians are facing?
We've been through a lot as a country, as a world over these past years. Obviously the pandemic, increasing anxiety because of climate change, transformations of our economy, rise in mental health and addiction problems, particularly with the opioid crisis that has been ravaging communities right across the country. There's a lot of pressure on a lot of people, and unfortunately, there are no easy solutions for all these challenges we're facing. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take people listening to each other. It's going to take orders of government stepping up and delivering for people. And it's a time for responsible leadership. It's time for people to look to assuage fears and angers, to respond with a positive vision of the future. But people are hurting. People are hurting because of all these things we're going through. And we need to make sure that the messages that we put forward as a country, and not just political leaders, but community leaders, institutions, are focused on supporting each other. Canada made it through this pandemic better than most places in the world because Canadians do a really good job of being there for each other. And we have to continue doing that work of building strong communities, of listening to each other and supporting each other as we move forward. And that's something that really, really matters. So each of us in positions of authority or power need to make sure that we are not inciting or encouraging anger or frustrations, but actually putting forward concrete, real solutions that are going to bring people along and allow them to see themselves in the future that the world is creating.
En français, s'il vous plaît.
Je pense qu'on est en train de vivre des moments extrêmement difficiles et troublants pour énormément de gens. Que ce soit les transformations de notre économie à cause des changements climatiques, que ce soit la pandémie qui a mis énormément de stress sur les gens, que ce soit les défis au niveau de la santé mentale, que ce soit la pandémie d'opioïdes à laquelle on fait face depuis bien des années. Il y a énormément de stress et de pression sur les gens et malheureusement, il n'y a pas de solutions simplistes qui vont fonctionner. Ce que nous avons besoin d'avoir en tant que société, c'est des conversations robustes, mais respectueuses et raisonnables sur le pays qu'on est en train de bâtir. Et il faut faire très attention, qu'on soit politicien ou leader communautaire ou leader d'institution, de ne pas amplifier ses peurs, mais de trouver des solutions qu'on peut bâtir ensemble pour que les gens puissent se voir dans l'avenir.
Great. Yeah, and as a government, you spent a lot of money on affordable housing projects, but what role do you think the federal government can play in setting up quotas for developers so that a minimum number of affordable housing units are created in all new builds?
As you know, the federal government over the past number of years has stepped up massively, whether it was with 2017's National Housing Strategy, which has created new homes or found places to stay for about 1.2 million families over the past number of years, or further investments like the Rapid Housing Initiative, like the Municipal Partner Accelerator Fund that we're working on. There are many, many things the federal government can and should be doing, particularly after 10 years of a previous government that did not invest in housing across the country. We know that there is a role for the federal government in housing, and we are stepping into that space in a very strong way because the needs are so significant. But at the same time, the federal government can't do everything. And that's where making sure that municipalities continue to play their important leadership role in responding to concerns on the ground, but also provinces need to step up in the way they challenge developers to include more affordability in their builds, the way provinces look at zoning, the way provinces participate in funding projects like these. These are the things that all orders of government need to have to work together on, and the federal government will continue to be there to do our share, to do more than our share, to make sure that we're building the right future for everyone.
Thanks.
Next question, please.
Hi, Prime Minister. Good afternoon. My name is Brent Cater with City News here in Kitchener. Evictions have been used as a tool before to deal with homeless encampments here in the region. One of the struggles, though, despite adding affordable housing, has been to try to transfer those individuals into those affordable units. Is that being taken into account into your plan about the actual transferring of individuals?
Well, I think one of the things that we need to understand is people who are experiencing homelessness have experienced a certain degree of failure of the system to support them, to give them what they needed to be able to prevent them from having to end up living homelessness. And first part we have to focus on is rebuilding trust. Now, part of that rebuilding trust is making sure there are places for them to stay that they can afford, that are safe, that are there for them. But there's a lot more than just the bricks and mortar that is needed. There is need for community supports, health supports, counseling. But there's also a need for building community where people can find their thing, whether it's gardening or whether it's community mentorship, whether it's sports, whether it's community activism. There needs to be a level of wraparound supports that so many different organizations need to come together to do. And that's where, similar to the federal government, provincial government, and a municipal government working together to provide those supports, there is work to do to rebuild trust and to demonstrate that there is a commitment not just to putting someone in a box, but to making sure that they're living a full life as they move forward, and that often requires more investments than just a roof. But that's why those partnerships, not just with other orders of government, but with the extraordinary community organizations, many of which I got to meet today, are so important in tackling the homeless crisis. We have committed as a government to ending chronic homelessness in the coming years. It can be done. We're stepping up, and we'll continue to step up to do our parts, but it's going to take a lot of other people stepping up as well, and we see that every day with the extraordinary people in the sector.
Thank you very much.
Follow-up question?
That's it, thank you.
Okay, and we'll take the last question from CP.
Hello, Paula Riggio with the Canadian Press. You and your caucus have been accused of staying silent on the issue of anti-Semitism in the contract audit for anti-racism training. You addressed it briefly while answering a question at a news conference about a week ago, but you haven't spoken on it otherwise. Why is your government not speaking out to condemn these statements?
As you said, we have spoken out, and I will continue to speak out, and I'm happy to do that again today. It is absolutely unacceptable that federal dollars have gone to this organization that has demonstrated xenophobia, racism, and anti-Semitism. It has to stop. We put a stop to all the funding going to this organization, and further than that, we are ensuring that there are better processes in place to make sure that no other organization or hateful individuals slip through the cracks. We are a government that has consistently moved forward in fighting racism, in funding organizations that step up in the fight against anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, anti-Asian racism, anti-2S LGBTQI plus community groups. All the things that we are doing and will continue to do is at the core of who this government is. We cannot accept intolerance. We cannot accept racism, hatred, and anger, particularly not funded from the government, and that's why we took action quickly, and will continue to ensure that this never happens again.
Will you be asking for a review of all funding to the CMEC from government departments, agencies, and programs, and would you be asking for a tightening of vetting procedures in the future?
We are absolutely in the process of doing a complete review to make sure that this organization is not getting any funding from the government, and we are making sure that we're putting in place procedures that ensure that this never happens again.
Thank you. That concludes today's press conference. Merci.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde.
Hello again, I'm Martin Stringer, and you
This show has been produced by Depictions Media. Please contact us at depictions.media for more information.